So, hi everyone. This is 𝙩𝙪𝙙 Maple here, your leadership and professional development specialist, and welcome to the Women Who Leap community and network. I'm so excited because we have an amazing guest today, Mrs. Danielle Hilliard, excuse me, and we're going to be talking about a lot of. We're going to have a great conversation in terms of if you want to pursue a career in STEM, what does that look like? In engineering, just a lot of thought-provoking questions that sometimes no one has the opportunity to answer, or you didn't even think about these questions to answer. So take notes, get your pen out, and we're going to have an amazing time. All right. Okay. And be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Click the button below, and let's get started. So Danielle, welcome.
Well, it's good to be here. How are you doing this evening?
We're doing great. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for allowing me to have you on the show. Definitely appreciate it because I know you're extremely busy with all the amazing things that you're doing. So again, thank you for just being open and available for this. So, okay, now I've read your resume. And your resume and all her information, all you need to do is look below, you'll see all her information. But Danielle, can you please tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Well, I've been in the engineering field for over 30 years. My undergraduate's from Tuskegee University. Little shout out to the HBCUs in aerospace engineering. I have a master's and a PhD in technology management from Capital Tech. I'm a former United States Army reservist, and that's about it. That sums it up very succinctly.
Every time, can I just say this? Everywhere I go, I meet somebody from Tuskegee.
It's because we're awesome. We're everywhere. To say we're a very small school.
Yeah. Why everywhere I go, I meet someone from Tuskegee. So, and the only reason why I say this is because when my husband wears his paraphernalia, I hear someone in the background, and I'm like, what? This is insane. How are they here?
We're everywhere.
So, okay. So in the spirit of just, with all of your accolades, who are three people that influenced you in a way that put you on this trajectory or just influenced you in life, period?
Well, that's super hard if it's just three. But I have to say my parents, I'll count them as one. My mom and dad really, they told me I could fly, I could do whatever I wanted, and they gave me wings to do it. Along with that, simultaneously, my uncle, who's since passed, but he told me what an aerospace engineer was when I was curious as a kid. And so he put me also on that path. And from a opportunity to really soar in this industry, a gentleman I met by happenstance, Admiral 𝙩𝙧𝙬𝙬. He was fantastic as a leader, as a mentor. Just really created an opportunity and gave me the runway to do what I wanted to do. And if he hadn't opened up those doors, I would not have been able to accomplish all the things I have in the last 25 years.
Wow. So for those of people who don't know, you mentioned getting a degree in aerospace. Can you explain what that is to our listeners?
Well, aerospace engineering or aerospace science engineering encompasses everything that you need to know, from physics, the mathematics of how flight occurs, whether it's a rocket or an aircraft or space. And I have had the pleasure of working in all domains, whether it's air, sea, land, space. I've had the distinct honor of being able to work on problems of that nature. So you're looking at aerodynamics and thermo. It's really a variety. I call aerospace the first systems engineering major, because you have to know a little bit about electronics and everything about structure, so that you got your mechanical pieces. There's also, propulsion, so there's some chemistry there. So to me, it's the full systems engineering degree. That came many years later. That term, people were using it a lot more now, but I think, originally aerospace was probably the first real systems engineering degree.
Okay. So speaking of degree, all right, so tell us, what is your career and how did you get there?
You mean my current role?
Meaning, yeah, or if you want to, you talked about how you got into aerospace. You talked about how you're reservist. But after that, how did your career progress and into the role that you are now?
I have had a lot of people think that life is very linear, because we go through school and you have a rubric, and you go from grade K all the way to 12, right? And then you go through freshman through senior year of college, and then there's grad school. And so there's this very linear path, and that works a lot for school, but it doesn't work in real life. So when you're trying to figure out what it is that you can do with the degree is not the only thing. The degree tells you, or tells others, that you have the ability, the capacity to learn. And I've always been a very curious person, and I get bored easily. So I'm always looking to feed that knowledge and bring something to the table at the same time. So not just taking. So I got my aerospace engineering degree, and while I was a reservist, I worked for an aircraft company in Kansas. That was my first job out of school. And then I ended up getting married, and we moved to the DC area. And so when we did that, the Navy was looking for engineers to help its aging workforce. I was early career, and they were really trying to bring new staff. I had the opportunity to go through a lot of different rotational program, where I got a chance to work on composites, which I did in my undergrad. So I got to do that at 𝙬𝙪𝙡, NSWC 𝙬𝙪𝙡 here in the DC metro area. Got to work on different types of composites, anti-fouling systems for warcraft. And then I just got to experience a lot of different aspects of the Navy. And what their needs were. My final rotation, and where I ended up, was an area called ballistic missile defense systems. And in that particular area, I was looking at comms. So not really the actual rockets or missiles themselves, but the communication systems. So I ended up really working on software and comms for probably better part of 8 to 10 years, between my role at Naval Sea Systems Command and where I currently reside for employment, Johns Hopkins University Applied Physics Lab. So I from that point on, I did a lot with combat systems, sensors, also got into working with eventually missile systems. And I've been both a contributor, chief engineer, and a project and program manager for a variety of efforts, and wanted a different change. I wanted to go back to hardware. I remembered those days of being in the lab, laying up composites, really testing things out, doing destructive and non-destructive tests, and attaching things to thermocouples. But now this is 20 years later, and I said, I still want to do something with that. How do I do that? And I was afforded the opportunity to to work with some of our systems that were more hardware oriented. And that led me to my current role. Within 5 years, I am now the branch head of what I call the heart of APL. It's all of the amazing people that design and fabricate electrical and mechanical systems. So if you think about Parker Solar Probe and the mission to the sun, or DART, the interception of the asteroid, that's my team that made that possible.
I love that. Do they is that where we can get fabrications of the models as well if we wanted to build a, because we used to
we do some models for so when we do wind tunnel test or things like that, yeah, we do all of the high fidelity 3D printing, additive manufacturing, not just polymers but metals. We're into the 3D electronics, we're getting into that. So yeah, we kind of dabble a little bit of everything. Prototyping, we are not industry, like we're not doing a full line of anything here, but we still have to live up to ISO standards, NASA standards, MIL standards, for many of those capabilities. So even though it's at a prototype level.
So if you're thinking about what should I do, so I'm just going to let you know I'm an ME, mechanical engineer, and let me say that there's nothing like hardware. Just like, because you physically get to see what you're working on, you get to make it, and you get to play around with it. So the manufacturing lab was my area. I loved it, loved it, loved it. So I love hearing you say that, and seeing is believing. So if you were thinking about, I know everyone's trying to do comp sci, I'm not saying software is not great, but there's nothing like hardware, baby. There's nothing like it.
There isn't, and we need more people to continue into mechanical and electrical engineering. We need more people who, if you're not interested in going to a 4-year degree, or you want to work more with your hands and you want a 4-year degree in machining, they offer those now. Manufacturing science is a thing. There are plenty of schools. There's welding science. I didn't even know that till I met some of my staff. So, but like I said, my career has been more of a jungle gym than some linear path.
I love that. One advice, this is somebody that we both know. She said, 𝙪𝙨, your career is like chutes and ladders. And I said, I hate that you said it like that, but I get it. Because that was like, because you can visually see it like, that makes sense. I get it. I get it. I get it. Now, how did you know you wanted to be an engineer?
Oh, that's easy. When I was 9, Skylab was falling out of the sky, out of space. And for those that don't know what Skylab was, it was the United States' failed attempt at a space station, 2 of them actually. And when it was falling, because we didn't have streaming services and I don't think at the time we had cable yet, all you saw was whatever mom and dad put on the TV, and it was always the news, and it was huge because the United States was going to be responsible if this fell on people in Australia, because they knew it was going to land near New Zealand and Australia. They were trying to predict exactly where. I was like, and at the time, 9-year-old Danielle was sitting here going, that just seems like something somebody should have been able to fix. When I get older, I'm going to be able to do that. I'll do it right.
And so that's how?
That was it. That was the hook. I had to do an assignment anyway for school, and I was fascinated by this. So like literally everything for the next 3 years, that if they let me pick, it was going to be space related.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. And so my uncle, who I mentioned, he was the one that said, I said, well, how do I get to fly to space? And he said, well, you need to be an astronaut, you need to join the military, because there are always military pilots. I was like, okay. I said, what do I study when I go to school? And he said, aerospace engineering. I said, okay. That's, and then he's the one who actually sent me to space camp. Space camp had only existed for like 3 years when I got to go, and I was like one of the first kids from South Carolina that got to go. Yeah, that was awesome. That definitely solidified it. Age 13, I'm at space camp and loving it.
What advice would you give female students who are, are engineering, but they're struggling, and they're like, I don't know if I want to continue this, or they feel, or because they might be the only one in their particular degree? What advice would you give them?
I think if you really, really want to be an engineer, you don't let the fact that you're an only, you don't let the fact that it's hard, because it is, it's supposed to be hard. If you're putting people into a spacecraft or an aircraft or a ship, even, those are human beings. We want to protect them, right? So it is a hefty responsibility, but it is an awesome one for you to be able to create something that the world can use. So if that's your passion, if that's what you want, work hard. You're going to have to be resilient no matter what you focus your career on. Certainly don't do it if it's for someone else. But if that's your jam, if you have wanted that since you were a little girl, keep doing it. It certainly wasn't easy for me. It did not come naturally. I worked my tushy off. But it's worth it in the end. And for me, engineering, sciences, they open up doors. It really does. It opens doors for you to do other things in your community, or if you want to create something on your own on the side. It really does open up so many doors.
Very well said. I like that. So keep going at it. And it is going to be hard. So if anyone told you that engineering is easy, they lied to you. Tell you that it is. Yeah. What I do love is how you said it wasn't something that came naturally. And oftentimes I think that when we go into things, we think that they come natural, like, oh, well, such and such, he doesn't have to, or she doesn't study as much, but I'm up here studying like 3 or 4 hours. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just that it may take you more time to learn what it may not take someone else, and that's okay.
And you may not see it. And that's another thing. People should never compare themselves to others. Compare yourself to whatever you are trying. It's, where was I yesterday? And have I grown any more the next day? And if you don't like the growth, then start tracking it, and be consistent. That's the one thing that's super hard, consistency for most folks.
Well said. Thank you for that. I feel motivated, just to let you know. Okay, so speaking to persons who are currently in the engineering field, and let's just say they've been working, I'm just going to say 5 years at a minimum. What are some insights on, if they're like, okay, I'm ready to get promoted? Because that's the biggest thing. I got to be honest with you. When I am talking to a lot of professionals from 25 to 35, this is one of the biggest things that we know is, okay, I've been doing this assignment, I'm doing a great job, but I'm not getting the promotion that I deserve. So what are some insights or advice that you will be given, that you can give early career, maybe 5 years to mid-level professionals?
I think it's a consistent conversation with your leadership team, right? Is it that you did get on one thing, and so now that you think that you should rise to some next level? Or is it that you truly for 2 or 3 years have been chugging away and growing, not doing the same exact thing and bringing it? Because there are plenty of people who do a sufficient job and they are good at what they do, but they don't bring anything extra to the table. And it's a matter of asking, well, what is it that great looks like? You say that I'm doing good. I get decent weight, not stellar raises. Maybe I get decent raises, right? So those are conversations, to have, and you don't wait until it's annual raise season or annual performance coaching or evaluation time. Those are conversations to have quarterly with your leadership at a minimum, with people that you interact with. If you're in a certain more service-oriented role where you're providing an element of something to someone else in your organization, you really need to talk to them about, hey, I provided this information to you, or I provided this product to you. What did you like that I did? What didn't you like that I did? What could I have done more of to bring, a better capability to you in the future? Always ask those questions, because feedback is a gift. It's not always something you want to hear. But that's really how you know if you really are growing, if you really are stretching yourself. You have to keep asking, because people will dance around it. They don't want to, disrupt anyone's life, but at the same time, they know who's crushing it and they know who is just doing all right. And it wasn't until, short story, till someone told me, yeah, you're doing okay. You're not crushing it. It was a wake-up call. I thought I was crushing it. And I said, okay,
become succinct? Yeah, how did you get
how did I get that feedback?
Yeah.
I said, I'm pretty upset about such and such. I have been doing blah, 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 blah for X number of years. And I see others and I want to know what's going on. What do I need to do? Now, I will say you will not always get the most honest. So that's why it's good to have multiple. You're typically working, that's the great thing about engineering and science, right? And life in general. I don't know about other fields as much as I know about my own, but it is rare that you are working on a project with just the same people. You get to work with a variety of folks on different types of tasks. And so you can get an honest opinion. You can cultivate that out of different individuals and have different perspectives. That will tell you whether or not, okay, what this person said was absolutely the truth, or that's a one-off, that's an anomaly. They have a particular opinion. It may or may not be what's reality here. But that's, so for me, it was just, the individual had been dancing, and there was a leadership, someone that was my leader, but had never articulated until I poignantly asked them, what is going on? And once that happened, it was like, okay, got it. I know what I have to do.
How do you recover? So for those people who are probably listening, like, oh my gosh, they may think that's earth shattering. What are there a couple of tips on when you do receive feedback that is a wake-up call that you can provide on how to get enough energy or spirit to say, hey, okay, these are some of the things that I need to do?
Yeah, I mean, it'll make you angry for a while. So don't think I woke up the next day and was like, okay, I got a plan. No,
right.
That is not what happened. That is, I definitely stewed on it for about 2 weeks, was not particularly ecstatic about it. And, did what everybody else probably does, dust off the resume, started looking at other things. And then, I had to ask myself, what had I done new? Where had I stretched myself? What did I need? What were the skills that I was lacking? And once I asked and answered myself honestly, I was able to make a plan. And that put me in the right direction. Now, again, you might get feedback that is completely wrong, which happened subsequently some years later. And that led me down a different path because I said, okay, well, I'm clearly not going to move anywhere else in this organization. So I'm going to take my talents elsewhere. It's, you just have to, but you do have to put some time in it. And I think that's the other thing that people don't understand. You can't do something for a year, and especially with no background, you're just 3 to 5, 6 years out of school. You haven't seen every variant of things. I've been working for 30 years and I still haven't seen every variant of every problem that I've interacted with that could happen. But I certainly have a lot more to leverage at 20, 25, 30 years into the field than someone who's only seen 5 years of experience. And I know that might be very hard for people to hear, but that is reality. Yes, you're very smart. You're way smarter than the rest of us because you are actually standing on the shoulders of the people that came before you, and you have the technology that we didn't have. We helped to create. And now you have the opportunity to leverage that to help you be a little bit smarter than the rest of us that came before you. But the reality is you haven't seen how some of those problems interact in the real life. And you haven't encountered some of the dynamics, like just dealing with people. So engineering, like everything else, is not just about the technical skill. It's also about interacting with others. And some of those challenges that you will run across, you're not going to see them for a while. They're not cookie cutter situations. And I think it takes a little bit of experience to know how to handle some of those circumstances. So not to take away from the brilliance that is our early career staff, our Gen Zers, because they are brilliant. But I would also say that those who have been in the industry have something for you to leverage.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. Well said. And speaking of having a career that spanned all close to 30 years, yes?
Yes.
One of the biggest issues in terms of leadership is burnout.
Oh,
yes. So, what advice, how real is it? I'm not going to even ask that because we know it's real, but what advice would you give for leaders, one, to identify that they're having burnout, and how can they mitigate it? How can they reduce it?
It is a challenge. I mean, part of it is how you lead, how you choose to lead, right? There are different leadership styles. You could be, and I am known for being a pace setter, right? I'm like, go, 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 everybody go. Yeah. And not everybody on the team might want to go, go, go all the time. So maybe that style isn't appropriate to use, right? You might need to take a step back, coach people through. You might have to delegate something. Yes, I might be able to do it faster, more efficiently, but perhaps they will have a better solution, and I would get to teach someone something by delegating it. So if I know how to really use my tools as a leader to give others an opportunity, I don't have to bear the burden of doing that thing. And that's one less thing that I'm worried about. So recognizing it, usually you don't recognize it the first time until till you're already hit with the brick, which is unfortunate. It's a life lesson I think most of us have to learn on our own. But the signals are you're not being as clear with your communication, whether it's emails or verbally. You are not getting to task as quickly as you would like. You're either short with your staff or you're short with your family, either one. That's a sign. I just, sometimes it's both. It depends on the person, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
So if you find yourself doing those things, that's probably a sign that you're burning out. Recognizing it in the moment is really, really challenging. The best thing you can do is have a friend, a partner, preferably one at work and one at home,
Mm-hmm.
that is willing to tell you, you look like you need a break.
Yeah.
And I've certainly more recently started to tell staff that, like, I know you have a lot on your plate. Is there someone else we could get? Because you're starting to look a little tired, and I want you to be here next week to continue to do problems. I want you here. So I'm very, very aware for myself. I'm definitely one of those people. I'm a workaholic. I'm okay with that. But I don't know that everybody else is built to be that way. And I have limitations.
Right.
So I'm taking time off the next couple of weeks. Why? Because it has been a very busy and dynamic year. So me time.
Congratulations.
But in between, you have to have that too. Earlier this year, my husband and I, we took a trip, just the two of us. And, because we needed me time.
Mm-hmm. Well, congratulations. That's good. So that is great advice for leaders. One, don't feel like you have to do it by yourself. That's the biggest thing. And two, when you do recognize it, take some time to reevaluate and see what can you delegate. But I like the fact that when you said you can't even finish, things that usually take you a shorter time to complete, you can't complete it. Very true. You're like, what is wrong with me right now? What?
Can't focus, can't execute the way and to your standard, right? Like,
right.
That's a problem.
That's a problem. That's a big problem.
Yeah. So when you see those,
so how do you practice self-care? Is it just taking off, or what else do you do?
No. So I try at minimum 3 days a week, try to do it 5 days a week. I swim as much as I can Monday through Friday. When I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, I jump in the pool. I am a much happier person the rest of the day.
How long do you swim?
About 30 minutes. Sometimes it's 45. Sometimes it's 20 because I got out the house late.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do a minimum of 20 and a maximum of an hour.
Okay.
Just depends on the day. Like if I get in there and I'm the first one there and the kids don't have school, I don't have to run home to cook breakfast or get somebody else somewhere. I'll stay there for an hour and just swim. You can't do anything else, right? Nobody can bother you.
Yeah.
You're just there.
How did you get to that spot where you were able to do that?
Well, as a mom, to be honest, had to wait till the kids were a little older.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, that's the one thing I would tell, no matter what, get your exercise first thing in the morning. Don't stop doing that. It was something I did earlier in my 20s and I stopped in my 30s and 40s, and I should have kept it going. It was very sporadic. The last 3 or 4 years have been much more consistent.
Now, is there anything else that you would like our listeners to know about you or about anything before we close off the session?
You have to be resilient. That the technology, STEM fields, there's so much to do. There's a wide range of opportunities. Yes, my initial bachelor's was in aerospace, but I, no kidding, have worked on communication systems. I've done my fair share of programming. I've worked on a little thing called the space shuttle as an intern. Yeah, you young folks don't even know what those look like. It's like an ancient relic, right? I've had the opportunity to work on some other really cool systems as well. And it just has ranged from rocketry to thermodynamics to, test events. I didn't know that all of these roles existed when I said I wanted to be an engineer. And there's no telling what these roles will look like, 5, 10, 20 years from now. I can't even imagine what they will look like. So the opportunities that you have if you're just starting out in your career, just in engineering school, finishing up and thinking you're going to go get that computer science or engineering degree, just know there's a whole universe of opportunity out there. It doesn't all have to be done in a day. You're not going to be CEO tomorrow, and that's okay. There's a lot for you to learn and enjoy, and just enjoy the journey. That's about the best thing. If I could say one thing, enjoy the journey.
Thank you for that. I never told you this.
What's that?
So when I was working in space, I was working with someone who I guess maybe worked with you. I'm not going to say the name online, but he said, "Do you know Danielle Hilliard?" And I was like, "No." He said, "She's phenomenal." And I said, "Okay." He said, "You have to get to know her. You have to meet her." This was 2012, 2013.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and I think, and to be honest, it probably took me another 2 to 3 years before I actually had a chance to meet you. But he spoke so highly of you. And I said, I have to meet her. But it took another 2 to 4 years before I did that. And when I finally got a chance to meet you, I was like, oh, guess who I talked to? Go back. He was like, oh, Jamie. I was like 3 to 4 years ago. I said, I know. But I said, I get it. I get it. I remember telling him that I get it. So thank you for all you do. Thank you for all you continue to do. And thank you really for being an advocate for positioning students into the right positions when they come and when you were in the position that you were before, and helping them get on their right trajectory and bringing them in. So, and I don't know if you know this now, but I look at just how the students that my mom impacted 30 years ago. And, when they see her now, and when they tell her the stories of how she changed their lives, to me, it's just, it's amazing to hear. So I can't imagine what it's going to be like for you in the next 10 years when you get to meet the students of the lives that you changed and impact.
Oh, they changed me, so I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
All the staff that I've had the pleasure of working with, just phenomenal. I've just had an awesome opportunity to, yourself included. You were in my team. I was really bummed when I couldn't bring you in to one of my, I think I tried twice.
You did. But hey, if it wasn't for you, I probably wouldn't have gotten where I got. So thank you for, again, being the trailblazer, creating paths where they did not exist. So everyone, thank you again. Be sure to like, subscribe. This is 𝙩𝙤𝙙𝙖𝙮. We're signing off with the Women Who Lead community. Make sure you subscribe so that when we're bringing on new episodes, that you're going to get notified. Have a good one. Bye.